Hey guys, had a couple of requests to do a review of the ski, the jet ski that is. So yeah, I'm going to take you through what I think you would like to know and show you how I put it together. I trust you'll enjoy this. Okay, it's a 2012 FX SHO, which the S stands for supercharged. And I went for it for a few reasons. Number one, the overall shape. I really liked how square the front was, how well it displaced water off the front here. These corners and during cornering really work well. And very wide platform. It has the new nano hull, which is really stable and really wide and cuts into the water really nicely. So I'll just show you around. The hatch, it's probably a good place to start. Nice and roomy hatch. I keep some of my safety gear in here, my flares and E-curb and my radio. I do keep an anchor. I don't use it very much, but nevertheless it is there. And then this little rope just to tie it off the front when I go to the boat ramps, and a fire extinguisher up front there. So one of the things is a word of caution to a lot of jet ski owners. I noticed that they have these emergency pods at the back here with all their flares and all their safety gear stuck on with a rope and tied down and all of that. The issue that I have with that is that if you get into trouble and you are sinking for whatever reason, that emergency pod will go down with the ski, and then you will be in trouble. So if you're going to have it in the back there, please make sure that it's completely free. And 90% of the guys don't keep it free. They tie them down because obviously they're going to fly off. So that's the reason why I recommend keeping your safety gear up front here. Obviously your ski is not going to go down that quickly, but all I have to do is pop this hatch open. My safety gear is in a box that can float. If anything goes wrong, I can't grab it. 90% of the time you probably will. It just floats out if the ski is going under. So that's why I do it that way. A lot of people have asked me why I want my safety gear up front there as opposed to some sort of attached safety gear at the back. It's for that reason. Moving on, the footwells are nice and deep, and yeah, there's some really good advantages as well as a couple of disadvantages of deep footwells. So the advantages of having deep footwells is obviously the water level's down here and it doesn't come over, and they stay dry, but nevertheless, what I've noticed is the water comes over here. As soon as you stop, if the waves are sort of bumping from behind, these do fill up with water. I think some of the newer models have actually self-draining little footwells here, which keeps your feet dry, and that's really cool. Mine doesn't have that. Up front here, we have a little dry hatch. It's mainly just for car keys and wallets and that. It's not a lot. I mean, my hand is now full. I'm touching all four walls almost, so it's very small. Not a lot at all. It is handy for keys and that, if you're jumping on and off your ski, and that's cool. Rear view mirrors, I never use them, but they do look cool on all the different models. I'll have on this side, on the handlebar, a trim. So you can adjust the way that the jet ski travels. You simply just pull a little trigger up front here, and then you actually can shift from a neutral position, to a nose up attitude or a nose down attitude. And it's not a gimmick, it really works well. So if I'm heading into the wind and it's really wet and all that, I nose up the attitude a little bit. Works pretty good. The newer models have two levers up front, mine doesn't. So if you've got a newer model ski, you'll have a reverse lever here. and then on that side is obviously your throttle. Whereas this particular model doesn't have reverse levers, it actually has a reverse sort of engaging, I don't know what you would call this thing, shift, I suppose. I can get into neutral just by going halfway down around about there, but I still have to pull it in and out. Some of the earlier models have two levers, so you would put the throttle forward and then just a touch it would go into neutral, and the same on the other side, you would be going in reverse and just a touch and you would be going into neutral. So those are the levers. Then in terms of electronics, I have actually kept my electronics. Not a lot of people do this, so I'll just climb up here. I've kept my electronics in the glove compartment, and I'll just switch one of these on so there's a bit of light, so you can see that all the electronics are in here. Torch so you can see like that. So the reason why I did this is that although this hatch is not a completely dry hatch, it does have a seal, a rubber seal all the way around here, so I haven't got any water in here, to be honest, but I wanted to keep all the electronics as dry as I possibly could, and that meant, you know, any splashing and so forth. I have had corrosion on these boards, on these electronic boards before, causing all sorts of failures, and I don't really want that to happen, so keep it closed in there. So maybe the only thing that's hooked up at the moment is my fish finder, and obviously my nav lights as well are inside here. That's all operated on a smaller independent little battery here. It's not a dual battery system. I'll show you in a minute when I get there. And this is the fish finder. It's a Garmin Striker 4 Plus. I would love a really big fish finder, and the budget doesn't allow it at the moment. I only really want to be able to navigate to the spots that I know, and I only really want to just see if there are arches on it. I know big fish finders show you way more, give you way more information, but I'm more confident in my fishing ability than in my fish finder ability. So as long as I'm getting to where I want to go, seeing that there are some fish down there, which this does perfectly, then the rest is up to me putting the fish on. So one negative of the Garmin Striker 4 Plus fish finders is that the cables are prone to getting corroded. So what I've done is I've put like a splash guard over here. I just made it myself. It's basically just a piece of heavy duty tarp, PVC tarp, with a bit of Velcro sewn into it. So the cables sort of sit here. They've got really good O-rings on them, and that, I think the major issue in my opinion with these is that if water is forced up into those ports, so with the jet ski the water gets forced up this slope and then it may hit into the back of those cable areas, so I'll put that around there. It's not 100% waterproof, but it's certainly going to stop that issue, and I don't really want to make something that goes right over the top of it, because then I always find that the salt gets stuck on the cover and you can't see properly, and besides this half of the fish finder is completely waterproof. So in theory, you know, as long as I protect the cables from salt water, wash it down every time, it should last way longer. In the cables themselves, I have got some dielectric grease inside there, so it should be waterproof. It should be fine. I'm not intending on disconnecting and connecting it all the time either. Right, onto the rod holders. The rod holders I have like various positions. These ones are, like I said, really adjustable, and you can hear a reel go off when they're in that forward position, whereas these rod holders I find are less helpful. So I'll just show you around the fish box at the moment. So the idea with the fish box was to, I had a limited budget and I didn't want to buy one of the really expensive ones. So I found this sort of caged, really cheaper one. It meant to take just one single esky and modified it and welded up as I needed to. I did have to put legs on it, so underneath here I just welded a nut on it and then put some of that bait board on so I could raise this up and down as I wanted to. I didn't want it angling down and at a weird angle. I wanted it sort of straight in line, you know, with the ski. So also I wanted the bait board to kind of not catch water and sit up, so that had to be adjustable. The other thing which was premeditated in terms of thought is how much clutter you have on the back. So the really big Fish Pro ones and the fish ski ones are this high. They're very difficult to climb over, and I was well aware of that watching other videos. So I purposefully wanted one large esky and then one small esky to allow access back on the ski on one side. So when you fall off a jet ski, you actually meant to climb up by using this step. So you would step on that, grab up here, or grab on this handle that I've left on here, get yourself sort of up, and then with your right hand you can grab onto here, and then you would step onto this platform and step forward, and most of your weight as you were climbing up would be over this side. So that's why I kind of wanted this area, you know, looking from the back, I wanted this area free so I could get up and over. So there was some design thought behind this when it comes to the arrangement that I wanted. You know, a lot of them have just got a single large esky at the back here, which I could have done, but again, I don't think it's a good idea. Right, moving on to the live well. The live well works off the little rooster that comes out the back of every little jet ski, and there's a pipe that comes out from the jet there, and that goes through the floor, pops up there, and a lot of people think that is actually, especially boaties, think that is actually the coolant the coolant from the motor, you know, runs to the motor and comes through here, but it's actually not. It's just a novelty item that waverunner have had. It's like a big rooster tail that comes up, but it's just from the jet, so it's not hot, warm water or anything like that, or contaminated water, so forth, to whatever degree. So a lot of the guys use it for live well. I've made mine so it can disconnect, so that's just a quick connect on the hose pipe. It means that I can take this esky completely out, wash it, and take the live out if they survived, and I can actually take them out without damaging them just by tipping the box out. So then the water comes up here. There's one of these plastic, I got this from Bunnings, but it's a one-way valve, plumbing one-way valve. So when it's sitting in that position, the jet just stops, it doesn't pump, it just stops here, and then obviously in that position it's open and it fills the live well. Comes in here, through there, that aperture is really small, that aperture is really large, so then, in principle it flows out here faster than it's coming in. Doesn't always work like that, but it's pretty close. I have had, in this size esky, this is a Dometic esky, I've had to put an actual drain plug. The small one doesn't come with a drain plug, so I've drilled one through and just put a little boat plug in there. And then at the back here, it comes out, the overflow here, and then just straight into the water. It's very good. Every single trip that I've got live bait, I put in here, I haven't had one fatality. They're always alive, they're always well, they're always very happy in there. As opposed to my kayak ones, they often die quite soon. So yeah, then on this side, coming to the larger esky, okay, so the larger esky have a fish box that I made by hand just out of bait boards, and I cut it up with the old bandsaw. So here's bits and pieces that have left over. These are like 10-15 bucks for a really big one, and you can chop it up. So I wanted one on top here. You can see I've just used normal stainless steel 316 screws. Basically made a box, and the box has got a lid on it. So, and then on top here is a bait board, which I can cut my bait, and then over here I throw my rogue sinkers and whatever else I don't want to roll off the bait board into this area here. Cotton and so forth, and lures that I've used but I want to wash, I'll just chuck them in there as well. So the idea is there's a little keeper here that holds it up in place. It keeps it up. It's slightly can over that way, so I can keep it open while I'm working on the back here. And the only idea is to pack this full of my daily tackle, so like all the stuff that I would use that particular day, carrying no surplus whatsoever, and then the surplus would be in boxes down here. So what I'm mainly carrying here is my live bait traces. These are little bags. I find it pretty healthy. They're from Kmart. You can get them for like $4 for like 10. They're like Ziploc, but they're really robust, and they're really sort of more of a permanent option than your normal Ziploc bags. So I have slugs in here, casting surface action for tuna and those sort of things. I have, the Kibera sliders. These are really good for snapper and so forth. Vibe. These Zurich vibes. Good for jewies and that on the bottom. I have a couple of lures for trawling and so forth. A bit of fluoro, some sinkers, and some scent. I use scent on quite a lot of my lures. It does work. There's just this little keeper down here. It's quick on and off. I didn't want anything like latchy, so you're going to go to this box a lot, so I just want on, off, and quick option there. You want your pliers fairly handy, and then you also want them to be able to stretch down here when you're getting fish. So I've got it stuck up there. Also, further down here I've got a knife, and these are all on my homemade little rod tire holders. You can watch some of my other videos how to make these. You can make them by yourself, homemade. So check my other videos out and you'll see how to make those. So then the rod holders, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible combinations I can put my rods in. I try not to put rods in the back here. It's just a really long way to reach sort of right over the ski, and it gets precarious when you're trying to pull rods out. So on this side I'll have my gaff and my net, or those kind of sundry items, or my sabiki rod or something that I don't use often, and then here I'll have my working rods, the ones that I'm using all the time. I hardly carry anything in here. I use these for sort of alternate trawling. Cool. Onto the battery system that I was telling you about, and so like I said briefly, that it's not a dual battery system. So the way a dual battery system works is basically you would have one deep cycle battery, and you would have one starter battery. And for those of you that you don't know, they are two different batteries. And you would hook them up obviously to your charger or your rectifier or whatever it is. And it's quite a process to actually get it all hooked up. That's my battery down there, and that's just a starter battery. So heavy load, big pull AGM battery. And then in most dual battery systems you'll have, like I said, a starter battery which is a heavy load puller, and won't handle long draining charge like a deep cycle battery would. So from a dual battery perspective, you would have to have that combination in order for it to work, and they would both be charged off the motor stator. I find that that's just a waste of time, because why would you, if you can't use the alternate battery for starting and you're only using it for your house, then why not just have a dedicated battery that you can charge when you get home? Instead of robbing charge all the time here and bothering about a huge setup here and you massive wires for a dual battery system, why not just have your normal starter, quick start, big pull battery, and then some sort of smaller battery system here that you can charge when you get home. A lot of you might argue, oh well, you know, then you are going to drain your battery, but the thing is, I've got such a small fish finder that I don't drain my battery at all. By the time I get home, I've still got plenty of battery. So I guess if you have got really big batteries, but even then, even if I had not really big batteries, really big fish finder, if I had a really big fish finder, I would probably still go for the system, but just get a better battery like an FPV. You can see the FPV batteries on the net. They're really good. Right, so underneath here what I have is just like a plano box. There it is there. And what's inside there is just 2 gel cell batteries of like 7 amp hours. It's held there with this like elastic system. It just clips over there and clips over the box. It's a nice little spot for it. It's just dead space. And so one cable goes into the glove compartment for all the switches, and then it comes out to go up to the fish finder and my lights. So that's what that second one is. As far as charging goes, at the end of the day I just come home, I grab these two, which is basically just the positive and the negative, and I plug it into my charger. My charger gets plugged in here. She sits open like this, charging. A couple of hours, the little gel cells all charged up again. On around about 7, or no, it's actually 2.7, so it's 14 amp hour. I go the whole day with lights, I go with everything, with my small little fish finder. It's more than enough. Come back with plenty battery still. So that's my inverted commas dual battery system, but it's not really 2 independent batteries. It doesn't get charged from there at all. Okay, cool, onto the motor. Let me just get this seat off. Pretty heavy seats. They've got race tech coverings on the seats, so there's not your standard seat, there's the old seat underneath there which I put over. These are really hard wearing, you can slide up and down in them. That's why I've got it. So yeah, there's the beast. 1800 horsepower. Obviously injected. There's the whole supercharger. Actually got quite a really big supercharger in it, to be honest. I mean, for the size motor, it's quite a big pool. And then the intercooler over there. Fuel tank and what have you up front there. Takes 70 litres of fuel. On an average day where I ride around all day, I only use 20 litres, so it doesn't use much fuel at all. But yeah, I'm so impressed with the supercharged motor. It really puts out a lot of power. If you take a handful of that throttle, it literally wants to pull you off the back of the ski. You know, I've ridden motocross bikes with power bands and all of that, and this is incredible. The thrust that it's got. It's really strong and really fast. I was just saying to Kyle, my son, the other day, that I still haven't taken it full throttle because it's just too fast for me. I just, you know, it gets to a point where the ski's like smacking over the top of the surface, and I just feel like it's actually, I'm not in control anymore, and I'm still not going full throttle. So as far as the supercharger and all of that, man, it kicks in really hard and really fast. You really have to hold on. For those guys that ride bikes, you know what I'm talking about. When you hold on with the handlebars and you squeeze the sides with your knees, and that's how you have to hold on. This is similar. You got to hold on like that, man. It can really get going. The other thing which I haven't shown you just is that the handlebars are adjustable. So you can you pull that and that falls, that goes all the way down. if you want a more streamlined sit, you know, when you're sitting cruising you want. And then when you stand up, which I do quite often, you just pull this and it comes up. I can't do it now with one hand, there we go. That's all the way up again. So now you would be in this sort of standing position, and you can, you know, the handlebars come up higher for you to be able to observe what's going on. It has little things that you can adjust on the thing here, so you can switch the LCD from, you know, RPM to speed, and then your voltmeter to your hour meter. I keep my voltmeter on all the time. Obviously I want to see how much it's charging my starter battery, which is the main thing. Without starter battery you're in trouble. So I keep the voltmeter on all the time. It sits at about 14.2, which is surprisingly high charging. Yeah, what else can I say? It's on a Swift trailer, nice heavy duty trailer, heavy duty axle. I've just done the bearings on it. It's really quick off and quick on. I launched this thing completely by myself. I jump on, unhook the front, I just pull it, sort of shift my body, and she starts rolling off by herself. Put it in reverse, comes off, and then when I put it back on, I just ride it on, and I get right up to the front, jump off onto the step quickly, hook the ski on, and I'm away, you know, jumping in my car and off. So that's one of the joys that I've really liked about a jet ski, is that you know, it's so quick and so easy to manage. It's not one of those things where it's difficult. You can go for a quick morning session. We haven't been able to do that in summer, obviously, but you can go for a quick 1 hour session, you know, get it clean, everything, be at work. Whereas the kayak was, you know, long paddle out, long paddle in, and I love the exercise. I'm missing the exercise, but it's really difficult to just get a quick in and out. Whereas the jet ski was a quick. I really wanted that quick in and out option in summer. I haven't been able to do it in winter, obviously, because the sun doesn't come up. But yeah, they're really easy to clean. The maintenance is reasonable, and I'm really enjoying it at the moment. So the last thing I wanted to show you was the bags. So how do you carry big fish? Because I mean, you've got the fish box at the back. We use fish bags. This is not mine. This is my son's Carl's. I've got one up here, a slightly smaller one. Yeah, so this is something that I'm gonna think about in terms of refining. I have even sewed up one here. But I'd love to come up with a really good idea as to how's the fish rock really nicely. I just put that up there, and I tie this on here. My leg comes over the side. It takes really big Spanish, full-size Spanish fits in here, no problem. But you know, a lot of guys say that the tubbies are better and so forth. The thing is, the negative with the tubbies is the maneuverability of the ski in the water. The other thing is, you know, that they are expensive. The tubbies are in Australia now $3,000, so that's quite an expense. And then the last thing with tubbies is that, you know, your mount getting on and off your skis is like difficult, and if you want to just go and have an easy day without all the tubbies being in the way, like skiing or whatever, you can't just whip them on and off. So at this stage, I probably will end up going with tubbies eventually when I can afford them. But at the moment, it's just the fish bag, and yeah, having to make do with the whole fish box situation as it is. Cool. So if you guys enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel. My channel is growing really slowly, but I mean, it's only beginning and I've only done a couple of videos. But liking and subscribing and putting a comment. Those of you that comment often, I thank you a lot. I really do. And please share this video with friends if you feel it's helpful, There will be more when the weather gets good in terms of fishing. So I'll catch you in the next one. I trust you enjoyed it. Bye for now.